Hello, welcome and welcome back. This is Jacob and today we are going to be continuing and finishing off the narration and character voice acting for the Path of Life story. So then, final part, let's get to it. We have quite a bit of story still left and of course a couple of battles and the usual shenanigans with the post-story ramble at the very end. But before we do so, as always, to anybody who bumps into the voiceover through this very episode, you can find the entire playlist for this in the description of the video, including the other Abyssal Hunter stories as well, all numerically ordered in their both release order and canonical order. And you can also find a couple of playlists that are connected to this whole thing with like extra Seaborn lore and other shenanigans that are filling in some little interesting gaps. So enjoy and thank you very much. And as always guys, thank you very much for all the likes and the comments you leave behind. Sorry for some of the slower pacing of these episodes coming out recently, but it's been a slew of 2 months of non-stop work on these, so I'm getting tired and I'm happy that the next month after this is gonna be nothing. For me personally, it's gonna be a month of recuperating before the next thing comes out. But yeah, thank you very much for the patience. I'm glad you're enjoying it, and I'm glad you're leaving comments, because on the previous episode I'm happy that I saw the comment that you guys were happy with the voiceover for Martus, which I'm happy that it worked out. I'm just happy that that voice worked out the way it did. Gonna talk about that a bit more in the outro, but I'm just happy that it worked because I tried something similar to that before and it didn't really work, let's put it that way. But yeah, I'll talk about that more in the outro. So yeah, thank you very much, and of course, thank you very much as well for the other comment that reminded me that there was indeed a scene in Lone Trail at the very end after the barrier break, which had like a just a quick little scene with the Seaborn in there that looked at the sky when the barrier was broken, the ripple was going through the barrier in the sky. And thank you for reminding me about that. I completely forgot that that scene is in there, probably because of it's been a while since I did that story, but also because it was mixed in between other things as well. Like the whole scene starts with the Seaborn and then it swaps, I think, to Leithanian, and then I think to another place. Like it keeps going around and around and around and around. And I probably forgot it because every single one of the scenes is pretty much just people and creatures and whatever looking at the sky in bewilderment of what is happening, so probably completely slipped my mind. And the IS-3 thing is more on my mind because mostly of the fact that it gets explained what is happening. So it probably solidified itself more in my head than that little clip from from Lone Trail. So thank you very much for reminding me. There's a lot of stuff in this game story-wise, so I'm always happy when people remind me of something that I might have forgotten over time. So yeah, thank you very much. But we shall now proceed into the quick recap as always. So for those of you who wanna skip that, you can do so by hitting the timestamp down below in the comment section in the pinned comment, and you are at the beginning part of today's part. But in the meantime, let's begin with on the previous part. We began with the interrogation scene from Secunda with the researcher, researcher, in quotes, that was captured after he and his colleague were trying to bust into the Abyssal Hunter clinic where Blandus was in, and she's getting some info out of him. Meanwhile, the hunters are heading out to the nest 37 to deploy the beacon that they have been handed, together with a fleet of Aegirian units that will be covering for them as they're heading out. And Irene as well has a nice little cutesy moment with Laurentina as she's wishing them a successful journey essentially. Meanwhile, back in the city, Ulpianus meets up with the doctor again after the successful infiltration of Blandus's Abyssal Hunter clinic, and discusses his findings. And it seems that Blandus is somehow involved with the Church of the Deep, and Ulpianus heads out to confirm just that. Meanwhile in the city, Jordi is in the tower in the middle of the city, pretty much informing himself, trying to be useful to the whole thing, but he gets interrupted by the appearance of Ulpianus, who busts in, knocks out the person who was with Jordi, and just proceeds to poof away and disappear. Meanwhile, at the nest, the Abyssal Hunters have made it in, and they are proceeding to deploy the beacon, and the Doctor went to Clementia in the meantime to essentially question her on her motives around the Abyssal Hunters, considering the Doctor is obviously very concerned about his operatives. After that, we get treated to a scene between Blandus and Ulpianus from the past, essentially a flashback, where we see a scene play out between the two, as the two of them were once upon a time close-knitted sort of close-knitted friends and colleagues in the same branch, as they worked for the Abyssal Hunter Project. After which we switch to the present time, where Ulpianus is confronting Blandus on the whole thing and why Blandus did what he did and joined the Church of the Deep. Essentially, Blandus says that he didn't officially become any kind of member in the Church of the Deep. Blandus just shares the belief that the way forward for the Aegirians is to live in symbiosis with the Seaborn, which obviously disgusts Ulpianus, and is probably not something that anybody in Aegir wants outside of a couple of individuals. And Ulpianus, obviously, because of all the deeds that Blandus has done, sentences him to essentially death. After that, Ulpianus gets interrupted by the sudden appearance of Jordi, who was obviously going after him, and Jordi questions him on what has transpired there, as he sees a dead person right beside Ulpianus. Ulpianus shares his knowledge and the concern, and Jordi is concerned about the status of the Abyssal Hunters that are in S37 because of what Blandus might have done to the beacons that are with them. Meanwhile, in the nest, the Abyssal Hunters are trying to escape the confinement, but are now closed in, as it seems the nest is pretty much cocooning itself and not letting anything out, as the beacons are starting to turn on. Meanwhile, in the city, all hell is slowly breaking loose, as the beacons have turned on, and instead of doing what they were supposed to do and keep on cooling essentially the different nests of the Seaborn, they are proliferating them. They are giving them essentially, they're essentially boosting their spread, as the entirety of the seafloor surrounding Miliarium is now slowly being converged and slowly being enclosed into just a giant Seaborn nest. And in the city itself, the Seaborn have made it in, as they are swarming in from the top of the dome, in the middle of the city where the tower essentially is. The area around the tower gets surrounded by Seaborn and immediately also transformed into their domicile. And the security forces in the city are obviously immediately trying to stop it. Meanwhile, in the tower, Ulpianus and Jordi are discussing the only means that they have right now to go forward to save the city, and that is to jettison the tower in the middle. As it's revealed, the Aegirian cities are a bit more proficient when it comes to this sort of putting or rather dislodging parts of the city and just jettisoning them if they need to, and the city can pretty much do that with the center of itself and get rid of it. But there is a problem, as it seems that some of the mechanisms holding the thing are or were sabotaged. Jordi heads out to help out and re-engage that mechanism, while Ulpianus stays behind. In the meantime, Clementia was escorting Kal'tsit and the Doctor out of the city, but they had to make an emergency stop and go through the Sophon Theatrum. But as they reach there, they are greeted by a unusual Seaborn. A very big and tall Seaborn in somewhat of a human shape, but also capable of speech, addresses them. But more so than anybody else, the Seaborn, who gets also identified as Martus, a Aegirian researcher that went missing about 200 years ago, is not questioning anyone outside of Kal'tsit herself, as he identifies that he knows Kal'tsit's original, well, sorta name, more like project name, Ama 10, and is addressing her with that. They share, he shares his knowledge and why he, or rather how he became a Seaborn in the past, because on one of the expeditions into the abyss, into the deep, deep depth of some ruins, he managed to stumble upon the Carulan laboratory, as he also in there found a Faramut trapped, or rather enclosed behind a glass wall, and made contact with it. As he made contact with it through the glass wall, the Faramut shared a vision of essentially a possible future with Martus, and afterwards Martus transformed himself into a Seaborn. Martus himself is, it seems, the essentially the founder of the Church of the Deep, as when he returned to the city, he did spread that knowledge around and gathered like-minded individuals. Meanwhile, in the city itself, ABYSSAL is confronting Cassia about the fact that he was aware of the fact that she might be involved with the cultists, but didn't do anything. But they get interrupted by more Seaborn swarming onto them, Jordi hopping in to save ABYSSAL, and Cassia escaping, as Secunda, who was also present, goes into pursuit after her. Jordi stays behind with ABYSSAL, of course, and he defends him with his lantern and manages to re-engage the mechanism that Ulpianus needs to jettison the tower. Gladiia, however, appears before Ulpianus and puts him to the questions of his loyalty and what he is actually trying to do. And we get greeted as well to a quick little scene of how they actually managed to escape, the Abyssal Hunters that is, from their enclosement, as it seems that a good old friend has sniffed out the signal that was happening and busted through the outer shell of their encirclement, aka the last night. And as the Abyssal Hunters escaped, the last night was left behind to, well, have fun, do some rampage, you know, as he does. However, back in the tower, we see that Ulpianus manages to engage the tower's mechanism and manages to jettison it together with himself into the deep depths, while Gladiia stays behind in the city. And with that, the city as well is now surfacing slowly to the ocean surface, as we see later in a scene between Saint Carmen and a operator and someone who is operating the Eye of Iberia. They spot the emergence of the city out of the sea, as the city also immediately deploys into a battle formation, extending its walls and stopping a giant wall of countless upon countless upon countless Seaborn that have spread so many through the sea that they themselves are changing the color of the ocean itself. The city, however, blocks it and is now standing as a sword and shield in between land and sea itself. And that is where we left off last time. So then, let us continue with today's part. And we will obviously continue from stage number 8, titled What is Survival? Is it the survival of life or of civilization? And considering that this stage here is our boss stage for this chapter, Operation 9 or BP-9 is a special stage which I will be including into the whole thing today, but considering that the boss stage is part of this, it will be included in the cutscenes, so let's proceed and enjoy. Oh, that woman nearly got me.
Cassia, I've been looking for you forever. Where'd you run off to earlier?
Lucilla?
What are you doing here, child? The city unit framework needs servicing. It's a standard combat duty, but look at the beacon tower. What happened inside the city? The Seaborn have broken into Miliarium. That tower has become one of their nests. Leave this to me. You should get out of here, quick. It's too risky. I'll stay here with you. No need to... Are you hurt? Yes. It must have been the Seaborn as you came over... Wait, no. A scratch like this couldn't be left by a Seaborn. Did someone attack you? Wait, why are you pulling out the safety valve? Hey, don't push it. It'll cut off the ground level self-diagnostic system, and the city framework will stop working. No, you know that way better than I do. You've been trying to do this all along, Cassia. Are you... with the Church of the Deep? When the Sea Patrol investigated Tulia, you deliberately turned them against her. Don't tell me it was you who made her disappear. What's this you've put on my neck? Long-beard comb-tooth grass. Something made by a friend in charge of raising roadside coral. Don't move. You'll die if its bristles pierce your skin. Quite painfully, if I may add. Now, leave this place, child. Once it senses you've gone far enough, it'll fall off by itself. You want to leave, don't you? To be honest, before we became co-workers, I happened to see your assessment at the Institute of Development Planning. You care so much about that data scientist because you've never forgotten that evacuation of Miliarium, have you? You watched as the distant lights of the volcanic power station went out, surrounded in endless darkness, with only strange rumbles and rustling carried to you by the currents. The ocean as it once was. At that very moment, you are the closest to the ocean out of all of Miliarium. You, standing at the mezzanine of the dome, all alone. The IDP assessment was that there was too great a psychological burden, which is why they agreed to transfer you from the dome system to ground level. Your so-called fear of heights was just a little joke of yours. I'm afraid that you yourself don't even realize what lies deep within your heart. The remaining Seaborn will soon discover that this route is still open. You wouldn't want to meet them again. Go, quickly, before it's too late.
Cassia grips the safety valve and continues to push it. She no longer looks at the joke-loving colleague by her side. The valve stops abruptly, releasing an ear-piercing shriek. She can push it no further. A pair of slender hands are pushing back from the other side.
Lucilla? Huh. In any other situation, I'd definitely give you a piece of my mind, or stuff this whatever grass into my ink bottle and tell you this sort of practical joke is beneath you. But it's so bright. The light from where the tower sank in, from the dome above us. Every Seaborn on the whole continent shelf is rushing towards Miliarium, right? Just what is behind those strangely colored lights? You're not wrong, Cassia. The Seaborn have eroded away at our lives. I've experienced the truth of that myself, and I'll never forget. I envy Tulia. Our experiences were so similar, but she was able to protect what she treasured all along. An amazing woman, really. And look at me. I escaped the dome and got back to the ground. Before you arrived, I was even thinking of escaping from here too. But where would I go? I can't let you break the framework, Cassia. I can't let the Seaborn get into any other Miliarium's unit, even if this grass thing kills me in the process. Because there's no going back for me. You really are strong, child. Laurentina's parents once told me that, while the dome may be beautiful, this transparent structure is actually the true eye of the city. In fact, I've been asking myself recently, since we're at war right now, shouldn't the eye be on the lookout for danger?
She forces herself to look ahead, the strange colors reflecting in her pupils. The roar of the tides and the whispering of the ocean's progeny resound in her ears. The young Aegir presses hard against the safety valve. She does not let go. She dares not let go. Only once a firm hand presses down on her shoulder, forcing her stiff muscles to relax, does she come back to her senses. You cannot go now, Lucilla.
Cassia, she,
Temporarily paralyzed. I only managed to graze her with my shot, which is why the paralytic took so long to take effect. Sorry for putting you at risk.
This is Consul Clementia. Citizens of Miliarium, heed me. Once the city unit containing the beacon tower has been fully ejected, the rest of the city shall break through the Seaborn encirclement and move towards dry land. Reactivate the linkage mechanism in the city's framework and perform a structural reorganization. Force fields at full power will stop the Seaborn tide from setting a single tentacle onto land. Legions 8 and 10, along with the Sea Patrol, send all operational warships out in turn to escort the city.
It might be more appropriate if you were the one to handle the report regarding Cassia, Lucilla.
I see. You should be heading straight to the port now. The mission just declared by the Council is more urgent. Cassia's already subdued. I'll take her to a doctor first and then, she should be punished. And if the city is going to undergo structural reorganization, the dome system will be the focal point of the force field to hold off the Seaborn, so they could probably use some extra hands up there. Maybe I should submit an urgent application to return to my old post.
You're very brave, Lucilla.
Oh, so you heard all that earlier?
I did. Before you submit that application, though, you ought to see a doctor yourself. Longbeard comb-tooth grass does in fact contain a potent neurotoxin.
Right, I will.
Ramming armor, check. Ship cannon mounts, check. Monitors, check. Camouflage coating, check. Propulsion system, check. All system diagnostics complete. Ready to launch. We'll be heading to the designated waters at full speed to block the Seaborn tide from the north. All weapon systems permissions granted. No need to hold back. Don't let them get near Miliarium. We'll do everything we can. You're just part of the first sortie. We'll be sending the rest of our ships into battle after you. You're to escort Miliarium in shifts while it's reorganizing, serving as an extension of its Great Wall and preventing the Seaborn from making landfall. So remember, the moment you get the order to change shifts, you must return to resupply immediately. Understood! Seaborn spotted! The remaining Seaborn in the city are attacking the port. Do not let them approach the warship docks.
Not content with ambushing us in their nest, they made a sneak attack on our city too. How annoying. Wrapping around the statue? What? Have the Seaborn developed a taste for art since entering the city? That said, the Sorrow Drinker is hardly a masterpiece, so I won't feel too bad when I've reduced it to rubble. Honestly, I think it's got more charm with an arm broken off. Thanks for the glowing review, Skadi. Are you feeling better now? Yeah, ever since we left the nest. Good to hear.
It's the hunters! The Abyssal hunters have safely returned to the city!
Swordfish. Captain Gladiia, you've met Yes. I saw him. We've arrived at the right time. You must have heard Secunda's report over the emergency frequency. Infiltrating Miliarium, breaking into the beacon's tower control room, murdering the weapon technology advisor of the Waterway program, and finally choosing to return to the ocean with the Seaborn. Ulpianus has not made it easy to clear him of suspicion. To capture him or even execute him is a duty we Abyssal hunters must perform in the future. Captain Gladiia. But for the moment, our mission is to search for the remaining Seaborn scattered around the city units and put every last one of them to the sword.
What must be said, I have said.
You've avoided answering the question at the heart of all this, Martus.
The question at the heart.
From your description, everything that transpired beneath the ruins, the crimes you committed, and the consequences incurred, they all seem to stem from some mysterious inevitability. But the Martus I know was an eccentric yet gifted man. He was doubtful by nature and not one for making arbitrary decisions. He would not have rashly discarded all reason and played at being the mystic, and he would have been even less inclined to reject his own existence or ignore the birth of others.
The choices I have made, the outcomes I have borne. Why do you care what the past Mártus thought before he made his decision?
His past choices have made you who you are now. Without understanding his reasoning, we cannot understand your existence.
Yeah, you would care about such trifles as well, Kal'tsit. The nuclei within its skull start to spin. I understand now. Of course you would care. How could you not? The human that once ate the strange flesh experienced such struggles too. Was it a day, or perhaps several? In the depths of the ruins, time holds no measure. He feared, he doubted, he was compelled to think over every possibility. Where will the next crisis come from? When will it descend upon Terra? He used a lifetime of knowledge to attempt to decipher the undecipherable, to comprehend the incomprehensible. If there exists a life form that could survive the cosmos of Quietus, even if only as a singular being, how would it be born? Given infinite time, even the tiniest fin will be able to type out the ultimate truth of all things on a terminal using its tail. But time was our most precious resource. Admittedly, the barren moon before him had foreseen our ruinous prospects, but could he and his progeny continue bearing the torch of life through it all? Supposing they could, before they instinctually iterate a way of overcoming that destruction in a limited time, how large a population and how efficient a fecundity would they require? Would they have to consume a patch of sea, a whole planet, an entire star system? How many must die to support their lives? Supposing they could not, then where did the true answer lie? On the other side of the ocean? On the other side of the sky? Or perhaps it is somewhere out in the sea of stars, untouchable by Terran hands.
Even if you spent your entire life simulating, you would not have been able to obtain a definitive conclusion. The information you possessed was seemingly insufficient to calculate every possibility.
Indeed, Kal'tsit. But the past Martus had no choice but to try. Danger and possibility both hung above his head, while below his feet he found only an unseen tightrope.
You could have informed your country from the start. Aegir would have helped take on your burdens. The oldest records of the Academy of Science could verify the past you saw. The latest inventions of the Academy of Technology could model the future you envisioned.
To cede the choice to others, is that a solution or an escape? The choices of the countless many against the choices of the few, are they more accurate or more ambiguous? More earnest or more capricious? Suppose the means for life to continue is not civilization, and the species that transcends ruin is not humanity. If so, how would Aegir react?
Enough, Martus! If you had thought of every possibility and foresaw the bitter price to pay, then your final decision is even more inexcusable.
No, Aegir. I do not mean to defend my choices. What I wanted to say was that, at the time, there was an immature life form that interrupted my flights of fancy. Its tentacles were minute, and its body yet uncoordinated. Beneath its translucent membranes, simple organs could be clearly seen. Born from Isharmla, it had unknowingly crawled past the cabin wall and was licking my ankle happily. Was it unaware of how swiftly its death would come? Did it not know that it was destined to become one of those insignificant dots among the millions of biosignatures on the monitor? Being the progeny of a Farenmut, could it have not seen the frightful vision its parents saw? Was it unaware that the destiny of its entire race was only to foretell and greet ruination? It just wriggled calmly towards its foreordained destruction, acting out of instinct only. As for us, there are countless possibilities to consider before making a decision, countless trade-offs to worry over. We find ourselves unable to ignore the costs of our decisions, or the results, or the value and meaning of those results. Humanity is ever a prisoner of itself, ever one step behind fate. This is the essential difference between humanity and the Seaborn. This is why they are suited to bear the duty of continued existence.
That's why you interfere with civilization's evolution?
If there is any life that can survive that future of quietus, no matter what form it takes, it is worth fighting for, no matter the cost. There is no justice here, only the path ahead. You should understand now why you must help we many evolve.
You're not the first one the doctor and I have seen who can barely qualify as human, but they all made their hard choices. No one had ever made a choice as horrifying as yours. Before you ate that flesh to become a Seaborn, you had already renounced thinking as a human does. From my perspective, that which you abandoned in your final moments, your doubts, misgivings, concerns, and struggles, were the most precious of treasures. They're treasures because they're unending. The Seaborn are swallowing Terra's life whole. You have not denied this, nor can you stop it. How are we to see them as our hope?
What is your choice then, Kal'tsit? To incubate Originium? The collapsed Stargate, the extinguished sarcophagi. Of the countless failed plans, is Originium the only one still in operation? Stones amidst the land and sky, ever silent, they are an incurable disease, harming life atop dry land. And yet, they are a plan left by the prehistoric civilization, one expected to save all existence at the very end, in ways incomprehensible to the average person. The stairwell to survival can only be forged in the fires of destruction.
No, such destruction must not happen. Much like Karula Arbor, Originium at some point turned to the annihilation you speak of. It changed in ways none can understand, and none can reverse. And since it has changed, it must now be stopped. Whatever the case, using life to feed life or ruin to beget ruin would only serve to remove all meaning from survival.
Kal'tsit, or rather, Alma 10, from the records, you surprise me. You and I should have arrived at the same conclusion via different paths. No, you should have been even more rational, more decisive. I merely noticed a spark of the prehistoric civilization and took on its mantle. You, however, were born for this task. You held aloft its torch eons before I did. You have kept watch over their distant aspirations and legacies. You have carried out your assigned mission. You witnessed changes. You bore loss. No human could have toiled for as long as you have. But now, has endless life rendered you feeble, Kal'tsit? Has it turned you human?
Kal'tsit has always been like this. You don't know Kal'tsit at all.
Was it because of this one? Dr. Jacob, or rather, Oracle? Many facilities, many doors, your fingerprints, face, voice. Within the Karulan cave, among the ruins, traces of you lie everywhere. You have witnessed the depths of the abyss before.
Have I? A pity I don't remember.
I recognized you. I have been speaking with Kal'tsit until now only because it is more efficient. You must know the truth. Your visitation is sure to have meaning. Perhaps you are able to explain why the project is at a standstill. But your title is different now. Something has happened to you. Otherwise, Kal'tsit would have held no doubts about what had happened to the plan.
For several reasons, the Doctor is unable to remember many of the things back then. The nuclei within its skull spin.
Memory loss. Unsurprising. Losing one's memory is perhaps the most insignificant sacrifice you could make. Even the most resilient of life cannot withstand the ravages of tens of thousands of years. The fact that you still exist upon Terra is in itself a miracle. What I saw, what he saw, what they saw, those frightful visions are an absolute truth to you. You have lost your proud civilization and homeland. Heaven and earth have lost all color. Time and space have become vast prisons. You have been exiled by despair. You have stopped to rest upon Terra. You have not escaped your fated ruin. All men will perish. All things rendered meaningless. Despite this, you have not stopped fighting for hope. This planet has been forever marked by your resistance. Even if those marks are mostly wreckages. I revere you and your cause. You, the people of a bygone age.
A Seaborn acknowledges my past? If that cause involves today's Seaborn, maybe the project stalled because they realized the cost.
Dr. Jacob, whether you accept it, deny it, or are undecided, it matters not to me. I am not hoping to win your understanding. I seek not your approval. You and your comrades had planted hope in the depths of the sea, a possibility, a spark. Perhaps you have forgotten it. Perhaps you have renounced it. Perhaps you now stand against it. Come what may. Now it is I who tends to this light, and I shall not see it extinguished. The rejection of our flame's kindler will not waver the many's resolution. Let's stop trying to prove ourselves. We shall return to the reality itself. We many sense the oncoming crises. Perhaps the eye beyond the clouds has caught a glimpse of Terra's exceptionality, a sword hanging above all our heads. Terra is but a cage, trapping countless souls, unaware of the truth. Now there is a crack in the bars, a crisis, also an opportunity. Sight, sound, smell, touch, the rushing of the ocean waves. Within the cage that is Terra, the children of the stars are the most resilient race. Never have they stopped evolving. You cannot deny that we many have become the most magnificent of miracles. They will become the sparks in the wake of the Big Bang, the seeds from which the cosmos will blossom once more. They are the closest to success. Tell me, Kal'tsit, Dr. Jacob, and the Aegir, do you know choose humanity, Originium, or the Seaborn?
It is true that a crisis fast approaches. There are still many questions I am unable to answer, many truths I am unable to grasp. But this does not imply that life can be reduced to a hollow concept that would simply erase its original meaning. You consider this a weakness, Martus. I consider it my drive, bestowed upon me by this endless life of mine. Life's worth should be determined by the living, and life's meaning should be written by the living. The Seaborn are a calamity that must be stopped. On this, the Doctor and I will not change our positions, and neither will Rhode Island. Without civilization, how can you speak of survival?
Without survival, how can you speak of civilization?
This ridiculous debate has gone far enough, Martus. We have exceeded the diseased organ familiarium. Your kin in the city are being eliminated as we speak. You'll have plenty of time to reflect on what you've done and share the rest of your secrets with us in prison.
You, Aegir, and that Ebon monster. It is futile to contain me. You alone, your city alone, are not enough to slay me, to slay Isharma. The city has completed its reorganization. I can imagine how it will look as it bars our current, but we many will surpass it. There is no right or wrong here, so let your brief resistance provide our soundest proof. Next, I will rouse the slumbering firstborn. I will lend our kin to the moons. You will become a part of this magnificent cycle, Kal'tsit, as will you, Dr. Jacob.
Maestro. Susanidad, I am here to make my report.
No need. Aegir has already informed us of what transpired beneath the waves. But of Kal'tsit and the Doctor of Rhode Island.
They're still in the city. We're connected, sir. This is...
a real-time image of the sea's surface, all thanks to Aegir's drone matrix, projecting directly onto the great lighthouse display. The Seaborn tide and the Aegirian city, both approaching the land. They're less than 10 nautical miles away.
That stirring spray, those intertwined currents, are they all Seaborn? Even the color of the seawater has changed. That's only the portion exposed to the surface, the tip of the iceberg. The Seaborn took advantage of Aegir's landfall. This entire sector of the sea has become their nest.
Aegir's defensive perimeter. How long can the transformed city of theirs hold?
I do not know.
We come to the conclusion that Aegir's Waterway program has failed.
All the Aegir in Miliarium are still fighting as hard as they can.
For the past few months, the Penal Battalion has requisitioned all operational vessels along Iberia's coast. They've been on standby in Grand Faro and are now ready to set sail. I will personally lead them to reinforce Aegir's defensive perimeter. Together, we will stem the Seaborn tide. I'm afraid you won't have much time to rest, Irene.
It seems not. I saw the Inquisitor's information at the base of the lighthouse earlier.
In the end, Iberia has found herself walking a tightrope with no margin for error. Survival or utter destruction, there are no other paths before us. Should Aegir's Great Wall fall, it will be up to us to educate the Seaborn on the significance of land and the price they must pay for desecrating it.
Maestro, Donna Irene. You stay here, Jody. This lighthouse will be our final bastion. The Peanut Battalion's operations will depend on its signals. Do what you can to keep it going.
No, not that. Look out the window. Light. Is that a lighthouse?
But aren't we at the only operational eye of Iberia? What's going on? Why are we suddenly receiving so many identical signals?
The lighthouses along the submerged coast, which have sat in silence for more than half a century, they have all lit up at once.
Dios mío!
The silent technology of the islanders. What are you responding to? Ulpianus hears the rumbling of the city reorganizing above his head as he watches the lightless beacon tower slowly sink into the depths. The building that once supported the grand aspirations of his people is now a seaborn brood nest. The old and feeble will use their bodies as nutrients for the next generation. Their journeys will continue with their newborn kin. This is how the Seaborn have always been. They spare nothing in their devotion to their kin and do their utmost to nurture them. The thought brings a brief moment of sickness to Ulpianus. The weight of the great anchor in his hand stretches to his shoulder the moment he realizes that he will never be recognized or remembered. He feels more clear-headed than ever. He is yet unable to cut the disgusting connection between himself and the Seaborn, but he still has the strength to cut off the tide surging towards the city. Gladiia was right. Battling in the rapidly proliferating nest might only hasten his assimilation. All that awaits him is death, or worse. Ulpianus puts all his might into swinging his anchor. As if able to read his thoughts, the tiny hatchlings gracefully avoid his swing before calmly flickering past the grip of his anchor. He adjusts his breathing, recalculates, and swings once more. Faint mechanical cries can be heard from the newborn lifeforms. An immature lifeform, freshly hatched, flits across Ulpianus' vision. It flips over gracefully, revealing minute yet precise mechanical structures in its belly for just a moment. Then there are two, then three. The school of newborns link together into a fine path of light, illuminating the chaotic waves. Adult Seaborn of all shapes crowd around them tightly, directing the currents and protecting them as they swim into the distance. What are you escorting, Seaborn? What is it you're protecting? Nutrients, life, kin, and you, Ulpianus. We many, together as one. As a former consul of the Academy of Technology, one at the top of his field, Ulpianus is certain he is not mistaken. The steady flow of wondrous things streaming out of the beacon tower are nanomachines, once ensconced in there, a history cut off, a dream that died young. As an abyssal hunter, he trusts his sense of smell as much as he does his scientific intuition. Their scent is no different from the Seaborn. Those beacons, dead in the cradle nearly 200 years ago, now thrum with new life. Incubated by the Seaborn, they now swim together towards the tidal confluence on the surface. Have you not yet given up on these games, Aegir, despite your own noose around your neck? Or is this also a part of your plan? At first, there was only a mote of fluorescence, then a flowing line, and after that, an elegant lattice spreading out across the surface of the sea. Billions of nanomachines sway alongside the children of the sea, bobbing up and down on the ocean waves. Their shimmer is minute yet clear, indistinct yet unwavering. The passage of light reflects about among the Seaborn's bodies. The currents connect every nest scattered across the seas. Seaborn gather together from every corner of the ocean for their excursion onto land, gracefully extending the paths of light. They intertwine with one another. The golden net they weave is like a galaxy strewn across the sea's surface, from Miliarium down into the deepest depths of the ocean. The Waterway, the network of the ocean, one connecting land and sea, one transcending chaotic space and placid time. Bound together with we many.
泥沼に引きずられるような進軍速度ですけれど、気になさらないで結構ね。私は待っててあげられますから。今すっごく気分がいいの。
うまく対処できるはず。
役に立つ情報を奴らに吐かせてやる。
さあ、もっともっとよ。狙いを定めました。
心配しないで、僕がついていますから。
小してみるといい。無様な死を望むならな。こい
つまだ足りないわ。
There you are, Consul Clementia. We noticed an extremely unusual biosignature in the Southern Theatre. I'm glad you're unharmed.
What's the status of the front line?
Legions 8 and 10, alongside the Sea Patrol, have been sending out escort ships alternatively, as per your orders. The city's reorganization and the force fields are both complete. Biliarium is holding against the Seaborn tide.
Inform every relevant researcher in the city. I need a minute-by-minute breakdown of the situation of this region of sea. We're still being far too passive, even with our contingency plan put into motion.
Madam Consul, you may want to see what the drone matrix just sent back.
These passages of light between the Seaborn... Waterways?
Consul Clementia, we've re-established communication with the home territories. We just got a dispatch from the Institute of Scientific Development Planning.
Any news from the hunters?
3 of them have returned to Miliarium. They are clearing up the remaining Seaborn in the eastern city units.
Contact Gladiia. Tell her to come meet us immediately.
Yes, Madam Consul.
Let's go, Kal'tsit, Doctor. You need to deepen your contact with Aegir.
I'll go with this captain to inform the hunters. Kal'tsit alone will be enough for diplomacy.
Doctor?
That Seaborn left and headed to the east. He might run into Skadi. You exchange a quick glance with Kal'tsit.
Madam Consul, the doctor still has some affairs to settle. Very well.
The final battle for the Waterway program has concluded with a Seaborn invasion of Miliarium. I require an explanation, Consul Clementia.
Gladiia, were any of you harmed?
I see you're here too, Kal'tsit. We had a few unexpected encounters, but nothing we couldn't handle. I believe that, as an envoy of Iberia, Dr. Kal'tsit also requires an explanation.
I could use one myself, if we're being honest. There is someone who wishes to see you all.
The little handy moves to the center of the Penisivarium, its projection module emitting cold motes of light, slowly coalescing into the figure of an Aegir woman. She sports a smile under her golden hair. Her eyes are focused on everyone in the room, as though she has been waiting for, or perhaps observing them for a long time. Consul Horatia.
Why ever do you look so fatigued, my little Gladiia? Though the transmission efficiency of the waterway is much higher than anticipated, I fear our simulacra are still unable to transmit my feelings. Otherwise, I'd stroke your hair and give you a nice big hug.
No need. You know the risks of doing so. The changes on the sea's surface, as well as the sudden appearance of the waterways, was this your doing?
Whether Aegir or Seaborn, we all find ourselves competing over time. The Seaborn must keep sending nutrients to every region of sea they conquer. They wish to quickly transform the entire continental shelf into one great nest. Every issue has two sides. This disaster has also blessed us with bioenergy beyond measure. More than 2 centuries ago, the beacon launcher would have required a dozen cities' bioenergy systems to continuously fabricate the nanomachines comprising the waterways. Now those nanomachines are being fostered by the Seaborn, who regard them as harmless kin. Using the data flow between the nanomachines as a medium, fleets and cities in squeezed state could traverse 2 oceans in an instant. Though these machines cannot take Aegir to the stars as our forebears imagined, they are more than enough to carve a path of life for civilization in its time of need.
But that would mean that, for the foreseeable future, Aegir will have no choice but to enter into some kind of symbiosis with the Seaborn, using that scum as they in turn use us. Is this another of your so-called games?
It is how we will break this siege. The term Waterway, the path ahead for Aegir, has never referred only to pure waters. You have always had your doubts about the program, and that is fine. But if that doubt serves only to put you in disarray, then it is useless. As Aegir is determined to open the waterway between sea and land, there was no question that it shall do so. I do not doubt your success, but perhaps there is still room for debate as to your methods. Dr. Kal'tsit, I presume. Consul Horatia, of the Institute of Scientific Development Planning. It's a pleasure. It pleases me that there are still those on dry land who have inherited the will of the prehistoric civilization, that Aegir is not alone in our duty. I am also glad to see you have begun our discussion with a firm diplomatic stance. Then, can I take it that you speak for all terrestrial civilizations, and that we can dispense with establishing diplomacy with them one by one?
I too am glad to see Aegir abandon its contentment in isolation and seek out cooperation with the land. But I regret to inform you, Madam Consul, that I do not represent it in its entirety. I merely understand it more than most. That said, I believe what Aegir needs now is exactly a thorough understanding of the terrestrial civilizations. You and I both know that this waterway will not be used only for resisting the Seaborn. Aegir has its eyes on every unnatural existence in these lands.
It is the only means for us to ascertain the intrinsic nature of Terra, and to eliminate the disasters hanging above our heads at the source.
And I am sure you are aware of how such actions will be perceived by the terrestrial nations. Compared to the Seaborn, you will be seen as the more direct threat.
We bear them no ill will. We need not stoop so low. The cruelest thing we could do is ignore the need of help of other torturing civilizations we need on the road to settling this crisis. Of course, we will first help them to learn how to walk. Bottlenecks of development, dilemmas of war, barriers of race, clashes of cultures, trends of ideology, changes in the structure of society. Over the millennia, Aegir has grown freely beneath the waves. It has faced every issue a country might face. We wish to share our experiences without reservation.
And how would you do so?
Using Miliarium as our main port, it would send talent and technology ashore to aid the Iberians in revitalizing their home. Pheromones perceive the oncoming crisis far more keenly than humanity. That young one will not shelter Kiarak forever. We can aid that nation long trapped in snow in breaking through its development barriers in a few short years, so that it may stand equal with its neighbors. We can aid the Sami in purging the demonic corruption permeating every inch of snow, and restart the abandoned Stargate in the north. Ursus, Kazdel, if the flames of war rage, we will calm them. If there are disputes, we will resolve them. Bolivar, Higashi, national unity is but a few fruitful negotiations away. Aegir will aid them in every predicament. Aegir will guide them towards the only goal they need. Under the leadership of Aegir, the land and sea will share a common future.
Madam Consul, I do not doubt Aegir's sincerity, but I fear your proposal will not have the effect you expect. I am sure you have the means to bring Kiarak up to par with the core nations in a few years. But will dialogues between equals necessarily center around peace and development? Were Ursus's internal problems to be resolved, who is to say they would not bare their fangs once more and attack their neighbors to satisfy their regained appetite? Bolivar's many regimes might reach a consensus under Aegir's pressure, but how will you eradicate the profound, deliberately provoked hostility?
Dr. Kal'tsit, are you saying that Aegir's efforts to aid the terrestrial civilizations will only result in the opposite? I am saying that we can establish a more equal and profound cooperative relationship between us. With only your probes, you are unable to understand the civilization's needs. With only your experiences, you are unable to force a nation to skip over its path to development. Before you act, you must learn more. Otherwise, the winds you stir on land may become some great storm you cannot turn a blind eye to. We would be more than happy to hear your suggestions, then. On the condition that you do not allow us to be held back by excessive caution and meaningless apprehension. Seeing the gulf between us, between land and sea, I understand that we will need many more discussions before we can make progress. Once the waterway opens, I look forward to meeting you in the flesh, whether on land or in Aegir's home territories. I as well, Madam Consul. What about you, Gladiia? Do you agree with Dr. Kal'tsit on this matter? The IDP need not question Rhode Island's sincere wish for cooperation, nor Dr. Kal'tsit's ability. I can vouch for both of those. And there are indeed essential differences between Aegir and the nations of the land. The land dwellers are short-sighted and clumsy, which makes them frail. Forcibly removing the differences between them would be no different from destroying them. It is truly necessary to show good faith. I've never seen Gladiia place so much trust in someone, Dr. Kal'tsit. A feat, to be sure. Perhaps she can be a bridge between our peoples and aid us in coming to a consensus. You will see that Aegir's plans are no mere idle prater. Now, do allow me a moment alone with Consul Clementia.
Secunda, a fleet approaches from the land.
Iberia. Hail them via the drone matrix. This is Perfecta Secunda of the Millenarium Sea Patrol. It's me. Irene? We're currently in a head-on battle against the Seaborn. Don't come any closer. Your ships are too crude. I'm sorry, but they may get sucked into the eddies around Millenarium. You're saying that Iberia should just wait quietly on land? That I should just watch Millenarium get invaded by Seaborn and let the Waterway transform into some kind of god knows what that even you Aegir never foresaw? We've already talked about this, Secunda. I'll be there in 5 minutes.
Halt all attacks. If we are going to pick up the Iberians, we'll just have to open the access channels to the rear. Why stop attacking?
Look at the screen. The Academy of Technology just sent an urgent communique.
This, what do we do? Are those light-emitting nanomachines components for the Waterway? But the Seaborn are still attacking the city. If they fuse with the nanomachines and bear identical biosignatures, our weapons won't be able to locate and attack the Seaborn only. Don't tell me the legions want us to halt our covering fire and rely on Millenarium's force fields to hold them back.
May as well slit our wrists and be done with it.
Scribbling on your device again? You know, sometimes I really admire your ability to keep a cool head.
Use the images from the drone matrix to render a 3D model.
Rendering in progress.
Perhaps the answer lies within the riddle itself. The biosignatures of the nanomachines and the Seaborn are identical, but we still know clearly that the nanomachines have formed the Waterway. How?
We can see them. Each machine emits a particular light that's clearly visible.
Contact the Academy of Technology and tell them we have a proposal for modifying our weapons targeting systems.
But, recalibrating 2 legions worth of auxiliary optical systems would take a lot of time.
What about using a lighthouse on land? Irene, It seems we arrived in the nick of time. A dozen or so lighthouses on the lost coastline have resumed operation. They're, responding to your waterway. Combined, they should be enough to illuminate this entire patch of sea. Maybe they could serve as your auxiliary optical systems? I'm hardly an engineer, but these lighthouses were built with Islander, Aegirian technology. They should be compatible with your existing systems.
That should cut the time needed in half. I'll let Consul Clementia know. Thank you, Irene.
The Inquisition would be overjoyed to see these newly unclouded eyes become part of the combined defense of land and sea. We're partners now, Secunda. Though maybe we should be thinking Breogan instead.
Breogan.
He truly dedicated himself to these lighthouses. A naval architect drifting into foreign land, striving for the day when land and sea could work together. He foresaw calamity, but left no answers behind. It's a pity that Aegir saw him as an outsider, while Iberia never truly accepted him. He died alone and miserable, but now his plans will finally have the chance to become reality.
We acted far slower than needed.
Indeed.
But it's not too late. Or rather, now is precisely the time. Let's get started, Irene.
I'm still more used to you with your veil on, Horatia. Did you show off the scar below your ear to let Gladiia know that, as her mother, you will tolerate her setbacks, just as you accept the blemish she left on your face?
I'm not that strict a mother. With her left hand on the astrolabe, Horatia's right hand softly strokes her cheek below her right ear, where a thin scar stretches upwards, nearly touching her eye. There is a smile on her face.
But this is no blemish. It's beautiful. Trivial for a doctor to erase, but I refuse. My little Gladiia was barely 5 at the time. She was taking her first career development assessment, and through this made her wishes rather clear. You don't know how glad I am to see her grown. She's certainly more suited for the life of a legionnaire than in the Institute of Societal Programs or Institute of Scientific Development Planning like you expected.
No matter. Whatever field she joins, she's sure to excel. She was born for Aegir.
I remember when she was 2, the Institute of Incubation said your disposition and the nature of your work made you ill-suited to raise her, and suggested you place her in their care.
They said the same when I first decided to raise her myself, saying that again 2 years later would not change my mind. But what truly pleased me was seeing young Gladiia rejected as well.
I wouldn't say you have the best bond as mother and daughter, but you do have an odd kind of rapport.
Alright, that's enough, my little manta ray. I suspect we have more pressing matters to discuss than reminiscing about my daughter.
Can you please not call me that?
Very well, Consul Clementia. While we spoke, every city in the home territories has been conducting an unprecedented investigation into the Church of the Deep. As the core of R&D, Blandus was able to tamper with the Class 4 weapons, but his actions should absolutely have been detected at some point before they were put to use.
Meaning there are many behind him fanning the flames.
All members of both academies who had anything to do with the weapons design, manufacture, and maintenance are receiving the most thorough investigations possible. In response, the Church has brought their full influence to bear. By grasping at a single leaf, we may be able to pull out an entire rotten branch. And with Martus, no doubt, we will be able to identify the Church's deepest roots.
Aegir itself is undergoing a grand surgery.
Surgery to cut out a festering tumor, isn't it? The waterway is open, and the fallen who corrupt our nation have been revealed. Both are of great value, as I see it.
Are you trying to console me over the superficial Waterway program's failure? To tell me that the sacrifices Miliarium made were not without meaning? Why do you insist on double negatives? They make you seem weak. There is no such thing as a superficial program in Aegir, Council Clementia. If the IDP has approved a program, it means its planning and members are entrusted with the hopes of Aegir. We believed you are capable of using the Class 4 weapons to purify our waters and open the waterway. This has always been an official part of the program. Yet it failed. The theoretical success rate of oceanic purification was never high. However, the Waterway program was a guaranteed success. Did I not promise you that before you set off? Trust in me. Trust in Aegir. I don't doubt that even if the city were to sink, consigning all 10,000 or so Aegir souls in it to the depths, the waterway would still open without a hitch. However, of all the possibilities you've accounted for, how many call for sacrifice? How I wish this meeting of ours never had to happen, Horatia. Is that why you've worked yourself to the bone, my little manta ray? I've read the reports on Miliarium. As consul for the entire city, you need not throw yourself into each and every little affair. The stimulants you abuse will not hide the exhaustion in your face. You really have thought of everything, as you always do, Horatia. All these lessons and sacrifices, the falls and the betrayals, even Martus' secret, are you not the least bit shaken? Speaking of Martus, you've reminded me of something. Of what? Martus regards himself as the gardener of sin. At times like these, he is wont to hide himself behind history. I can infer why he'd seek cooperation from Dr. Kal'tsit, but from the way you describe it, those discussions quickly devolved into a vapid declaration of war. I find it difficult to imagine he would be satisfied with such a failure of negotiations. That is, unless he gains some other information. We will continue to track his whereabouts. Are you hiding something, my little manta ray?
Clementia does not answer. She instead raises her head to look at Horatia face to face. With the simulacrum erasing the distance between them, she knows that Horatia will be able to see every detail of her expression. But the curve of Horatia's lips do not change. Her eyes are as gentle as ever too. Clementia hopes that her own expression is as firm as hers.
I am still the chief designer of warfare on the Waterway program before you arrive, Horatia.
Naturally.
Your calculations may have arrived at the correct outcome, but I had to handle the situation in my own way. The Academy of Science and Academy of Technology each have their own duties.
Yes, of course. I only hope that this obsession with self-reflection will not cause any complications. Your keen judgment must stay unclouded.
I won't let that happen.
Here, come a little closer. We still have some time. Kal'tsit, Rhode Island, Iberia, the Inquisition. You'll be busier than ever soon, so best not keep frowning like that.
The little Seaborn rapidly convulses its gelatinous body, and the other one quizzically sways its fine tentacles.
Trying to run? Smart. Your kin are behind this wall, a lot of them. It's the end of the road for you, though. What a pity.
Isharmla. A sudden voice, tinged with surprise. Skadi turns, looking towards its source. A conical creature exuding light leaves the shadows of the buildings, shielding the two concerned Seaborn with its body. Leave, kin. Through the eddy ahead, return to the sea.
You're so honestly gentle with them. Disgusting. I'm guessing you're the leader?
Our meeting was preordained, Isharbla.
Huh? You know me?
Skadi grips her sword tightly. Isharbla.
From Salviente to Gran Faro, from the Stultifera to here, you scum have been watching me this whole time. What, do you see your god in me too? Are you here for family or revenge?
The nuclei within its skull rotates slightly. No. Isharbla. Skadi. You are not nutrients to complete the cycle. You are its end. Our kin will not prey on you. On the contrary, they respect you, protect you. They await your transformation. They await your revolution. Skadi looks at the being's eye. For whatever reason, this monster she has never seen before seems familiar. Very familiar. The bizarre organs surrounding the Seaborn disperse and surround her in turn. A shimmering umbilical cord connects her body with the Seaborn's. Skadi suddenly remembers when she faced the first Seaborn to talk, in that cave below the church. She also experienced a moment of distraction back then. She had just been through a fierce battle, her blood boiling with frenzy, but now she feels herself uncontrollably responding to the Seaborn's touch. She curses herself for this moment of distraction.
Why?
A natural phenomena. One I am also helpless to exist. This is the answer, Skadi. I ate his flesh, and he lives within you. You are he, I am he. Our hearts connected, our blood interlinked. You need not waver, you need not doubt. The kin will not demand you walk with us. Isharbla chose you to continue his life. Perhaps this is the only way. He will witness what he must witness. Travel the road he must travel. What did he see in you? Perhaps. Could it be, Skadi, that in that cold, dark future, in the cosmos where all things are doomed to fade, you are the one hope, the spark, the possibility? Are you the one who bears the final wishes of untold lives?
Skadi. Rhode Island operator Skadi. Doctor?
Skadi swings her sword, her grip never once relaxed. It slices through the umbilical cord. She stares coldly at the creature before her. Everyone's looking for you. Figured you'd be here. Dr. Jacob, Skadi, you know each other?
Is that so strange?
She's one of my cute little operators. The nuclei within its chest pulse. This is the first time something stirs the peace within the Seaborn's chest. The oddly colored nuclei, along with the bizarre organs floating by their side, begin to wave as rhythmically as the tides. It does not approach, but both you and Skadi can sense a burst of emotion. Joy. No matter if you personally took part, Dr. Jacob, no matter if what took place in the Carulian cave had aught to do with you. After countless years, you now stand alongside Isharmla. The connection between you and the kin cannot be erased. It is you who wrote this instinct into our memories. We depend on one another. The wheel of fate still turns. The surviving successors will one day meet and achieve the most improbable of possibilities. The hardship we suffer is ever present. The life we thirst for is ever present. I await you at the endpoint of evolution, Dr. Jacob, Skadi. I await you both.
Don't give chase, Skadi. Handle things in the city first. I couldn't understand that thing at all. What was it talking about?
Some kind of declaration of war.
Didn't sound like that to me. You woke me up just now, Doctor. When I was face to face with that Seaborn, I remembered something I felt back in Salviento.
Nothing good, I presume?
I hated it. What good could come from a Seaborn rambling to a human?
Don't worry, I know what happened. You didn't want to listen, did you?
Of course not. I have no interest in chatting with the Seaborn. That thing sounded like it'd been looking for you.
It's a long story.
So we were both being watched.
There won't be a next time. But next time, I'll be by your side. And it'll be you waking me up.
Don't worry, Doctor. I'm Skadi. Abyssal Hunter Skadi. Rhode Island Operator Skadi. Always have been. Doesn't matter if that thing comes looking for me or you. I'll cut its vocal cords before it can speak.
I trust you, Skadi. Remember who you are, and it'll work out.
The tide's coming in, outside these walls. Sounds like it won't stop for a long while.
Well, a lot of things have just happened. But before we do so, let's introduce our big bad for the stage, which was obviously Martus Seaborn. And it says, Sage, Traitor, Hero, Villain. The many identities of Martus are inherently contradictory, but he considers himself only Seaborn. The ocean belongs to Aegir, until Martus made it the nutrient for new life, and from its blue depths sprang the children of the sea. So then, first off, a character that I did not think we're gonna meet in this episode, cause she was obviously not here, she was in the home territories for the Aegir, is Gladia's mother. Well, that was a surprise, and oh boy, if you guys thought so far that the usual Aegir and Clementia might be a bit full of themselves. Oh boy, is she full of herself. Damn. Again, it makes sense why they are the way they are, why they're so full of themselves. It makes sense. I'm gonna elaborate a bit about that in the outro ramble, but still, there is a lot of nose in the clouds, right? That is a lot of hoity-toity bullshit. Oh my god. But yeah, anyway, that was a surprise to see her, and very interesting mother-daughter relationship, I would say. But yeah, interesting. Also, Nanomachine's son. They are working, and everything is now connected through the waterway. And, well, welcome to high-speed internet between the cities, but not in the sense of, hey, let's, you know, send data between the cities. No, 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 no. We can use this to, pretty much warp drive, people between the cities. With vehicles and luggage and everything. That is a high-speed highway if I've ever seen one. But very interesting tech. I would wish they would elaborate a tiny bit more on what is actually, on how it's actually working. But probably they will at some point, and it's gonna be a lot of yapping. But I personally would look forward to it. But anyway, we continue on to stage 9, which, like I said earlier, is not a story stage, but is a battle stage, and I will be including it in the episode, because it's very unique. No voiceover for it, it will be just a recording of the battle itself. The enemy-wise on this stage are pretty much all enemies we fought before, including a good old friend coming back. Oh boy, do we love these. But yeah, anyway. Stage 9 says, Fortress of Civilization. Without walls and barriers, there can be no civilization. And the red text says, The Seaborn come, legionnaires meet them, laugh their siege to scorn, and beat them back home. So then, let's proceed. This is gonna be the team as you're gonna see it in the match, but most of these are just here for just for to trust farm on these stages, so don't worry about it. It's gonna be pretty much a Abyssal Hunter and Irene journey through this thing. Let's go.
なたにした瞬きせずに自分の死に様を見届けることに。
Alright then, and that was BP-9's battle. A simple operation, a simple defense mission essentially, pretty much mimicking of what is going on around the city currently. And I do love the bombardment mechanic, Clementia calling in, telling you, 15 seconds! Clench those butt cheeks! That last bombardment, however, is very, very clutch looking, not gonna lie. But yeah, anyway, that was a cool little operation. Very thematic for the whole thing, but let's continue on to our finale for the story, which is BP-S3-3. The Stray and the Companion, Kindred spirits thread divergent paths. Adversaries walk together. Let's begin. Do you really mean to return?
I finally found out the man's whereabouts. No matter who he is or what wolf hole he's decided to hide himself in, he hurt our daughter. He needs to pay.
Then let me come with you. I don't care if it's Familia standing in our way, cruel catastrophes, endless tides, or fire raining from the skies. We'll face them together.
Would the shrine be alright without you? Relax, it's just killing a few people. It's long past time for those bastards to head to hell.
Then it seems we must part once more. Heavens drink their fill, sky besought by sakura, drunken clouds stumble.
Was that a haiku? It's got a good rhythm, perfectly suited for reciting while swinging a sword.
The hell, man? Why are you crying? An assassin gets revenge for her daughter by crossing too big Familia, so she's forced to flee for a distant country. And many years later, she has to leave behind her gentle husband and re-enter the storm for all her daughter's sake again. When I think about the people in real life who live like that, I can't help it. The way I see it, the movie should be from her point of view. I hope I don't gotta remind you that this film's supposed to be our Familia's business card in a new city. And we're supposed to be reviewing it together. We gotta control how the city looks at our boss and our business.
I thought you said it was great last time.
Great? Then why did killer lady show up out of nowhere? Cruel catastrophes, endless tides, fire raining from the skies. Who wrote this crap? Sure, the Colombians poked a hole in the sky, but I ain't ever heard of no fire raining down. When is this supposed to take place anyway?
When you're gonna learn to have a bit of a perspective. A cold-blooded killer putting down her blade for a peaceful tomorrow in Nuable Cini, all thanks to our Familia's influence. You can't get more with the times than that.
If you put it that way, the film's even more crap. But you're right, as long as it's to the Signora's liking. Hey! Which bastard touched the switch? We under attack?
No, look at the screen. Mr. Tinman, we have a press conference starting soon, so please keep it quick.
While you all were busy flinging all those things into the sky, I made a few rounds in Casdell.
You know how I feel about this.
I do, young Banshee, I do. My verdict is that they feel about you much the same as you feel about them. Considering the many vile connections they have across Terra, if they do decide to get behind your project, there will be plenty of headaches for all involved.
Thanks for the tip. Now, the press conference is about to begin.
Don't be so hasty. Let me finish. Dusty Lunare, Director of Engineering at Rhine Lab. You know full well that the dream you were promised can be shared with many more than just the Sarkas. The Maylander Foundation will pledge their full support towards you and your elf friend's brazen plan. We will decide on a date to discuss the details later. That includes future launch plans, where we hope to re-establish a more complete...
Galeria Stellaria.
Yes, that's the one.
Nasty, you on the phone? Once the conference is over, we'll need a meeting room, a coffee machine, and to clear an entire weekend of our schedule. That bad, huh? If only it were as simple as good or bad. But first, the conference. Is Silence here? I was hoping she'd stop by, but fat chance she's got the time. Oh, I put one of those Burden Beast blind boxes from Kierak on her desk, and sure, she'd open it after a week. But the little beastie was already buried under an avalanche of files in need of review. The guy who's supposed to be making a speech for us isn't here yet either. Well, he's still got 2 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, the press conference is about to begin. Please, quiet down. I'll be happy to answer any and all relevant questions during the Q&A segment.
Sounds like he's in a good mood.
Let us first.
Playing the same trick twice doesn't get old. No, Ferdinand's confused too. This wasn't part of his plan. This is... The challenges we face are far greater than ourselves or catastrophes. We must form a community under the leadership of Aegir to overcome them together. Repeat. An Aegir broadcast to all surface-dwelling peoples. We ask all of humanity to set aside your conflicts and prejudices and join the Aegir in building a bulwark together. The Matrix has broken through the blockade and swept past the sea. Essential information and calculation results are about to make landfall. The challenges we face are far greater than ourselves or catastrophes. We must form a community under the leadership of Aegir to overcome them together. Under the leadership of Aegir. You're still looking towards the land, Dr. Kal'tsit. Like a mother, anxious about the child she had to leave behind. A child, is it? In one brief communication, you have delivered knowledge that countless others have given their lives for to no avail. Geographical data on the Foen hotlands, an Infi ice field, and images from even further north of the continent. One way of showing goodwill, I suppose. To share knowledge is natural, while showing goodwill takes intention. I fail to see how the two are related. It was essential to thoroughly evaluate the extent of shock this would be to our terrestrial friends. Were these not urgent times, we really should have been more cautious. My concern is that there are immediate dangers more worthy of our attention. How much longer do you believe Miliarium can hold, Consul Clementia? With our fleets taking shifts, we can keep up continuous 24-hour covering fire for a week. There have been no major changes in the Seaborn's movements. As the energy supplying the force fields dries up, the stopping power of our weapons will also gradually dwindle. But this is not outside expectations. The city can hold for another half a month, no more. How long will it take reinforcements to arrive from the home territories? A week. Our countless nanomachines have established steady information flows. Compressed fleets and cities can speed through them, traversing the oceans in an instant. However, assembling our forces will take some time. A week. How quick? You need not hide your worries, Dr. Kal'tsit. There are essential differences between the ways we and the landwalkers think. Simple sincerity is insufficient for reaching effective bilateral cooperation. On the one hand, we hope that reinforcements will arrive as soon as possible. On the other, you worry that the subsequent contact and communications will be outside your control. You even worry that Skadi and the Doctor have deviated from your plans. You already know of Skadi's secret, then? My little handy happened to record a chance meeting between Skadi, the Doctor, and Martus on a street corner. Compared to discovering the secrets of their identities, controlling who knows what is much more difficult. An abyssal hunter with the firstborn within her, and a predecessor scientist who witnessed the rise and fall of the prehistoric civilization in person. They are both of great import to Aegir. Based on simple evolutionary logic, the firstborn would not have chosen to entrust the future of its kingdom to its killer. We still have no idea how the Seaborn will become the final answer to resisting ruination. Even with missing memories, the Doctor still bears that mission. How will this so-called death of all things come about, and what can Terra do about it? We must find out. Skadi and the Doctor are, without a doubt, the key to Aegir's solving of the riddles. Skadi will face her blood. The Doctor's duty will be fulfilled, but it should be their choice, not somebody else's scheme. I fear that once Aegir learns of their identities, it will devise ways to exploit them. Horatia asked me earlier if I was hiding something from her. And how did you answer, Madam Consul? No need to worry. She does not know yet. You truly treasure Skadi and the Doctor, don't you? Even when confronted with a disaster threatening to wipe out civilization, you still wish to respect their choices. But this is no time for us to hesitate. I can't hide this from Horatia forever. I presume you have a plan, then, considering you're hiding this from her at all. I've reached an agreement with Gladiia. We will take over all Abyssal Hunter-related research in the name of the Legions and ensure that the Hunters will not be put in circumstances depriving them of a choice. As for the Doctor and myself, we hope to go deeper into the Aegir home territories and solve these mysteries by ourselves. I fear that we will need an Aegir guide. Well then, it will be my pleasure.
Cassia will receive the punishment she deserves. Miliarium's incubation chamber has been moved to safety, so as long as the city doesn't fall, the child she left behind will be born safely. They will be raised in the Institute of Incubation. I know what you're thinking. The fate of a Church of the Deep cultist isn't worth calling you over for. Do you still think that everything will end in ruin, Mr. Avitus? I still believe in history. Once written, it can never be changed. Even a tragic victory is destined to be another page in its annals. I'm glad to hear you say that. Let's get down to business, Jordi. I met with Council Clementia. I confessed everything. What I was thinking, what I did, what I saw but never spoke of. I accepted the Tribunal's interrogation, but they did not believe I deserved to be labeled fallen. I had stood at the precipice and looked around, perhaps even stuck a toe over the edge, but no more than that. Their final verdict was that I could keep my post and continue to stay in Miliarium. It sounds like you have other plans, though. They may see it as repentance, but I cannot forget the outcome of my silence and inaction. I'm not arrogant enough to believe I could have affected an entire military campaign on my own, but what if I had reported Cassia's unusual behavior? This could have played out very differently. And so I plan to leave Miliarium. To where? The Aegirian home territories? Some are even further than that. Even further? Now that the Waterway has opened, Aegir is about to restart the work interrupted by the Seaborn. Expeditionary fleets will once more explore the far side of Terra, but this time we have changed the course of our voyage. We might set off from that mining nation of Rimbiliton and try to touch the edge of the sea. Better I die on some expedition into the unknown than wallow here in sorrow, self-reproach, and despair until it saps me of all my strength. There, whether we go forwards or downwards, no one knows what awaits us. We'll be like Breogan in times of yore, pushing back against the darkness of ignorance. You mean... You call on, Jordi Fontanarossa. Yes, I'm inviting you to join us on this distant voyage. I'm not the only one who desires this. You said earlier that I never answered your questions properly. You were right, and I should apologize, but there was something I truly wished to tell you back then. We have no need to prove our place. Even if the vestiges of the past have worn you down to nothing, you can still tie your future to Aegir. I don't know what to say. This is all a bit too much. Don't worry, Aegir respects the choices of all its citizens. We farewell on your carefully considered departure. We await your eventual return, no matter how long it may take. Maestro, today's maintenance work on the lighthouse should be finished. Is there some sort of issue with the others?
No, I'm just here to watch the sea, like you.
I heard from the other Inquisitors that you kept making time to come to the coast, even while we were in Miliarium.
Iberia threw a stone into the sea. We were worried it would foment an unstoppable wave, but what was even more worrying was that it might sink in silence, with nary a whisper. Fortunately, the stone stirred up the ripples we hoped for, and Iberia was able to see the circumstances beneath the waves, and in so doing, make up its mind. You performed your duties as envoy admirably. If there was ever a time in your life to stand tall, with your head held high, now is that time.
Yes, sir. Maestro, I've been thinking about returning to Grand Faro, going back to the chapel and where I used to live with Uncle Tiago.
You should have seen Tiago one last time. We live in an age of regrets. If you see the Inquisition as the source of those regrets, I cannot refute you. If you have things to pack, Irene can help you.
What? No, that's not what I meant. I'm merely just thinking of going back to have a look.
In other words, you haven't yet made up your mind.
Yeah. You told me earlier that the Inquisition letting me to return to Aegir was a test. Am I not,
On the contrary, Jordi. Do not mistake bewilderment for momentary hesitation. You have lifted your lantern and clearly seen the fork in the road before you. You are merely weighing your choices before choosing which path to follow. The sea fog is thick, and both routes seem slick with mud, but you are not the one to be criticized for this. Jordi Fontanarossa. If you choose to follow the Aegirian scholar into unknown waters, the Inquisition will not stop you. The strength of the waves crashing against the shore will not change because a single clerk leaves or stays. If you choose to stay ashore in Iberia, you will carry responsibilities that are more exhausting than you are used to, but also much more important. Those are the expectations Iberia has for you. The choice is yours.
I understand, Maestro.
By the by, Irene mentioned that you've been suffering from severe insomnia these past few days. How was last night?
It rained rather heavily around midnight without a star in the sky. By the crack of dawn, there had been about 2 or 3 urgent situations I had to handle. But overall, A rather peaceful night, all things considered.
Do the Seaborn dream? Dreams are comprised of thoughts or emotions flaring up as they dissipate, but now I am nothing more than instinct. Why this scene again? Following the unfathomable passages in the ruins, at the very end, a great beast gently sticks a tentacle to the bulkhead. What is it waiting for? Perhaps. I walk forward, passing through the shadow of the Carulia tree, until I am before him. I extend a hand.
An electronic announcement speaks in an unknown language.
Warning, deep sleep procedures will commence in 3 minutes. Real-time translation programs will soon shut down. Please provide all necessary instructions as soon as possible.
The person in front of the glass speaks in an unknown language. Isharmla, our shared name, our shared decision. We trust one another. We feel as one, do we not? I will watch over you until the end of my days.
No, this person isn't me. This isn't my dream. It's Isharmla's memories. You have followed me through many nests, Abyssal Hunter.
The reinforcements from the home territories are about to arrive. The confrontation between your kin and the Aegir's legions will soon intensify. You will choose this moment to depart. Your front line has already advanced into land, Seaborn. Why choose to turn back and return to the abyss? How is this conflict connected to the reawakening of the Firstborn?
You are an astute man, Hunter.
I merely discovered your existence before the others. You left evidence in Isharmla's body. You are the Church of the Deep's founder.
You sought refuge in the shadows to seek traces of me.
Only a shadow may merge with a shadow.
A most interesting hunter. What do you wish to know?
Everything.
I know you, Hunter. You are Skadi's comrade. Has Aegir refused your everything?
This nation has refused too much, so much so that it's dug its own grave.
Your schemes are far too obvious.
I never intended to hide them. I fell in order to obtain answers. The nuclei within its skull converge.
I can tell you all you've longed to know, Hunter. Regarding my next actions, regarding the sealed passages in the ruins embedded in Terra's mantle, regarding how the other Firstborns will awaken. Regarding Aegir, regarding the next doom to greet Terra. Weaken are selfless, weaken are devoted, weaken wish to share everything. The only requirement is that you become one with the many.
Ulpianus meets the Seaborn's gaze. It has no face, but he can tell that it is observing him. Through its transparent membranes, past the faintly leaping nuclei, Ulpianus sees his own eyes.
You said you fell earlier? No, Hunter. The conjoining of flesh is not enough. Turn endurance to acceptance. Turn humiliation to relation. You must trust the kin. Trust your own instincts. You must take up a duty far beyond imagination. The duty of we many. Perhaps you will learn the full truth in our embrace, but when the time comes, you will be unable to, unwilling to, bring it back to Aegir. Just as I could not.
The Seaborn passes Ulpianus, swimming ever deeper into the nest. Its back quickly disappears from view, leaving only the nest before him in full bloom. The contaminated coral shimmers in its multitudes. Countless, fantastical life forms split between them, using its glimmer to dispel the darkness of the depths. They grow, they form tides. But Ulpianus ignores them. His gaze passes over a golden sea, over every scar, every inch of flesh, every cell, every chaotic waking dream. It falls somewhere he cannot see, the deepest recesses of his own self. Ulpianus follows along. And with that, we have ended this story. Very quickly before I go into the whole post here thing as usual, how many of you were confused by the beginning of this scene? I was so confused at the beginning, like, what is happening? The one person mentioning Familia, I was like, okay, wait, we're in Siracusa? And then suddenly haikus? Wait, Higashi? What is happening? And then it turns out that those two mafia bozos are literally watching a movie that is supposed to be some kind of promotional thing for Volsini. Oh my god. Headache. But good bamboozle. I'll give him that. That was a good bamboozle. And judging by how the script of that movie goes, I can imagine a certain someone directing that thing. But we'll see. Anyway, yeah, again, I've said this before, if you thought the Aegirians were a bit full of themselves, how about this one? Very funny. So they just dropped a lore bomb onto the entire world, leveraging a lot of information about their own world that just people regularly don't have access to or can't get access to, in a show of good faith, but at the same time saying, we will lead you to victory. Not sure about that one, Chief. I don't know how the rest of the world is gonna take this, but yeah, a lot of stuff is gonna be overlapping in the future. We are definitely building to a lot of stories starting to overlap with each other. I'm starting to believe that when the next arc of the main story comes along, that arc is gonna be taking place after all of these stories. It just feels like it has to. So many of these stories are now connected at this point in some kind of fashion or manner. Like the the entirety of the Laterano story together with the Lethanian stories, then or overlapping in there, plus having some Syracusan overlap in there as well. Then speaking of Syracusa, we have that overlap as well, a tiny bit in there, and obviously Columbia with Rhine Lab and Kierag as well. So yeah, everything is building up to one single thing, and I have a dumb feeling that they are definitely building this whole spiel up to be part of the next big arc of the story once the whole Victorian thing is neatly packaged up and done with. And yeah, I'm looking forward to what they're gonna be cooking. One quick thing as well I want to mention here before anything else. There is a operator record. I didn't have time to look at it properly because of time and stuff like that. Lucilla has an operator record, and I didn't have time to look at it if it's taking place before or after this story, so I didn't even record it yet. But it will be up on the channel in the next coming days as well, because I did need to also raise her trust value up to unlock the thing. But it will be up on the channel separately in the next coming days. Usually I'll include these here in the outro sections if they're like an extra outro scene or anything like that. But again, didn't have time to look at it, but it will be up on the channel. I will be retroactively then adding a link to that specific operator record in the description of the video and in the pinned comment down below, so you can find anybody in the future who is looking at this, if the episode is live already, or rather if the operator is already live, operator record is already live, you can find it in the description of the video and in the comment section below. But yeah, anyway, let me set this on a farm so I can actually talk about stuff and the things and all the characters, right? Because there was a lot in this story, like a lot of stuff in this story. Holy shit. Well, first and foremost, lore-wise in this story, there was so many drops in stuff that I didn't expect. Like, I was expecting Aegir stuff. I think we were all expecting stuff about Aegir and how they live, how they do, their technology levels and everything. Because up until now, the only things that we seen and heard about Aegir is from stuff like, I think, speaking of, Specter is on the screen right now, is from, I think, mostly from her. I remember from her operator record or something, or was it her module short story? One of the two, or maybe both even. I remember there was talk about how the Aegirians are. I remember specifically that some story of hers was telling that she, when she was young, had a robotic maid. It wasn't specified what the robotic maid was. I was originally imagining an actual, you know, human-shaped robot, but it's the little handies, essentially. So that is pretty much answered. But they didn't really talk about why they are so highly technologically advanced and everything. So seeing this story and learning that they are so highly advanced is purely because not just only are they learning about this high tech from the ruins they are excavating from the prehistoric civilization, aka Doctor's race, but also because apparently, according to them, they have been handed essentially a task by that very same race to do, and that is kind of nutty. That is kind of nutty, I'm not gonna lie. So they essentially inherited some kind of will from them to preserve the world and do what needs to be done, which is crazy. Quite honestly, it is pretty crazy that something like that is around. And they are fully aware of the prehistoric race as well, which can't be really said about anybody on land. On top of that, maybe some, but not in this capacity. Oh no. But yeah, they are definitely highly advanced, and again, while they are very full of themselves, they do have reason to be so, because of the high level of tech they have. But at the same time, that behavior is not gonna fly with the rest of the world. That's gonna be a lot of getting used to. And I'm looking forward to all of that, because it's gonna be funny as hell. It's gonna be very funny to watch these people interact with the rest of the world. I cannot wait for the hilarity. I don't know when this is gonna be continuing, but when it continues, I'm gonna be laughing my ass off, because the world is just gonna be continuously telling them, no, no, we cannot do that. We're not putting you guys in charge. But there's gonna be probably some compromise found at the end of days, but it's still funny. To me personally, it's just funny how full of themselves they are, but at the same time, again, they do have a reason to. Their culture, however, is also very, very interesting. First off, I did not expect the Greek. I did not expect the Greek to be the basis for, well, them in general. That is kind of interesting. Which obviously also incorporates a bit of not just the Greek, but also sorry, Greek, Roman. I'm doing it again. Aren't I? But yeah, incorporates a bit of the Greek as well, and Roman culture. It's kind of like a mixture, but then again, it makes sense. Greek and Roman culture did share quite a lot of, well, similarities. Even, well, when you look at their gods especially, there was quite a lot of, you could say, overlap. But yeah, it's very, very interesting how their whole culture at the end of the day is. And especially as well, they were really making sure we understand how how they are threading around children, essentially, or conceiving children, which is very fish-like. I will not lie. That is very on theme for fish, isn't it? As most fish lay eggs outside, and those eggs getting fertilized then, this is kind of like a similar principle, as in they are essentially taking the embryos outside of the women and they are cultivating them then, or growing them in incubation chambers, and they even can either decide to raise their own children afterwards, or can let them in the hands of the institute to be raised. That is one hell of a culture, I would say, but also very interesting at the same time. But yeah, lots of philosophy, lots of yapping, lots of interesting technology. Funny to see as well, the little handy is so integrated into their culture that I don't think these guys could actually live without the little handies by their side for a long period of time, which is very funny. And the cities themselves look very interesting. A lot of that BioShock feeling, isn't it? A lot of that BioShock feeling of the underwater city and stuff like that. Minus the fact that these people don't really enjoy the modifications. They do have projects where they are trying to enhance their genome, essentially, but at the end of the day, it's mostly about what's the word I'm looking for? It's mostly about just enhancing themselves, not turning themselves into some kind of wild creatures. The whole Abyssal Hunter program needed a lot of convincing to be actually undertaken and actually to go underway. Like they said, took over 100 years to actually get it to actually start production, so to speak. I also find it very interesting that that they can't reproduce the the Abyssal Hunter results anymore, which I do wonder if they're gonna be properly explaining in the future. But I have a feeling it was kind of maybe explained in the past. Maybe it has something to do with the whole procedure of putting Seaborn cells essentially into a body and then, you know, blocking them from actually doing anything or going overboard. So maybe there is some correlation there, but very interesting, and do wonder if they're gonna do anything with that. Do wonder if they're gonna be explaining that in the future a bit more about why it's not possible anymore to make any Abyssal Hunters. There has to be something that is like an extra thing uniting all of these who have succeeded essentially in the procedure. But yeah, anyway, character-wise, the supporting cast, don't know much what to say about. First off, I feel like Lucilla was very underused in the whole story. She did have one good moment essentially in the whole story, or rather two. One of them being going to Secunda to report on the the real information about Tulia essentially. The other one being the one where she at the end blocks Cassia from doing any more harm, and pretty much probably saves the city with that. So that's very interesting. And outside of that, I feel like she's very underused in the whole story. Didn't really have much else. She did also have that little part about herself where she was a dome worker and then because of the trauma got delegated to work on the ground afterwards. And does have like a bounce back to maybe go and help out with the dome working again. Dome work again after all shit went down. But yeah, outside of that, she didn't appear much. Secunda had a ton of good moments and learning very quickly to trust Irene, just becoming good buds with Irene as well on top of it, pursuing everybody throughout the city, coordinating people. She's a very capable person. Also, her involvement with the Abyssal Hunters as well is very interesting, that she was someone who worked in the lab back in the past, wanted to be an Abyssal Hunter herself, but was denied, and you know what, Secunda, that's maybe for the better. That's maybe for the better. In hindsight, who knows, even though she's probably, or rather she is, lamenting the fact still that she never became an Abyssal Hunter, I think in a couple of years she might change her mind. I think in a couple of years she might actually be in a mindset of, well, maybe this is better. This way she can maybe help the Abyssal Hunters better. Avitus, not really much to say about the guy outside of, should have opened your mouth sooner, buddy. Should have opened your mouth sooner. One thing I will say is they weren't really clear. I wonder how you guys feel about, or rather what you guys think about this. Because the way I was interpreting stuff is that Avitus and Cassia were a thing. He worried about that child of Cassia's like it's his own, almost. And I do wonder if maybe there is something to it. But they didn't elaborate. At any given point in the story did they say that that he might be the father, or he's somehow involved, or why he's getting so strongly involved. Outside of that, they know each other. I think she was supposed to be his, if I remember right now, I hope I didn't forget that. I think she was supposed to be his former student or something as well, or just studied his teachings and books that he translated from the prehistoric script. So maybe. Cassia, on the other hand, as a character... before I go to Cassia, Avitus's whole thing of going off in past Rimbiliton to the other side to check out the sea over there and what is happening there is very interesting. I do wonder if Jordi is going to be going, if Lumen is going to be going with him there, because that would make for a very interesting little vignette story, if they actually commit to do that one, about them going out there to check what is happening beyond Rimbiliton at that coast. That would be a cool little mini story, and more Jordi is always nice. But yeah, would be interesting. But yeah, anyway, Cassia, girl, why? I get it that she was in a bad mental spot, but oh my god, why? Why did you do that? Damn. Yeah, pinning the blame on Tulia and being also responsible for Tulia, indirectly or directly. I can't remember if she was. Was she directly responsible for that? I think she was, right? Yeah, I think she was, for misleading Tulia into a direction and then pretty much jettisoning her out of the city. and then later putting the blame on her. Not cool. Not cool. Whatever they're gonna be doing with her in the interrogation, she deserves a lot of it. She deserves a lot of that. Whatever's gonna happen. She did a lot of nasty shit. But yeah, anyway. Oh, also before I forget, this was on my mind during the entire story, and I was kind of expecting it to be dropped randomly at a certain point in the story, but it never happened. Avitus, I thought for a long while that Avitus is gonna be somehow related to Jordi, because there was a whole thing at the beginning of this story that Jordi is still looking for members that share his bloodline, essentially, like family members or someone, but can never find anybody. And because, like, if you look at Avitus's avatar, like art, essentially just his head and Jordi next to each other, they kind of do resemble each other. Not really, obviously, but they kind of have one resemblance, very anime resemblance, and that is that same hair split. Even almost same hairstyle. Like Jordi's hair is, you know, the young guy who doesn't really doesn't really comb his hair, while the old, like, man in the 40s, 50s is, you know, always prim and proper and ready for office work. It's kind of like the difference between son and dad. But not saying that I've thought that Avitus might be his dad, just that they might be somehow related, but yeah, nothing ever happened. I don't think we're ever gonna learn who Jordi's relatives are. There might not even be around anymore. Who the hell knows? But yeah. Anyway, I was expecting maybe something to happen, but nothing, sadly. But yeah. Anyway, moving on. Our dear little Tulia. What to say? We didn't even know you properly. It's sad. That portion of the story kind of broke my heart a tiny bit. That was very sad. That tiny little peepsqueak just wanted to take care of her seaweeds, and god damn it, Cassia, why you little asshole? But yeah, that was a sad thing, and at least she doesn't have to suffer anymore, I guess. Is kind of like the good thing about it. And finally, moving on to Blandus. I mean, again, his name translating to gentle is definitely very descriptive of his actions as well. He wasn't seeking destruction or anything from either side. He was just seeking unison. He was just seeking a way forward that would benefit both sides, so no one would have to suffer anymore. But his way is not really the best way, so, you know, stuff had to be taken care of. And it obviously had to fall to Ulpianus to do so. But yeah, don't really have much to say about him, outside of that he was just generally a good guy, just, I guess, too depressed. The depression got to him. He didn't see another way forward to deal with the whole thing. And that's always gonna be a sad character who doesn't see a path in life anymore, besides the one. And this one is not the best one. But yeah, oh, and of course, before I forget, Clementia. Very full of herself, but not as much as Horatia. Not as much as Horatia. I kinda by the end of the story kinda like Clementia quite a lot. At the beginning of the story, probably my original thoughts about her were just like, okay, a person that is very full of themselves and the role Aegir plays in the world. But then by the end of the story, dependable, capable, definitely a good choice for leading role of Miliarium, and is not a douche, which is good, despite the fact that, you know, holding in the entirety of Aegir in super high regard. Not a douche, actually, and very good personality, and especially at the end with her and Kal'tsit finding common ground as well, and just a little sense of cooperation between the two of them. So very nice is all I can say. One final thing before I go to the main cast of characters that I do wanna mention. I thought there's gonna be more to the logs that we were hearing, that we were looking at essentially. I was wholly expecting that they're gonna go a bit deeper into the logs that they were presenting at some point. Obviously, the logs were just there for like to sort of run in parallel with the story and you know, the whole depression thing, no way out, yada yada, kind of analogy that is there. But at the same time, I was kind of expecting a bit more. I was expecting more of those logs to appear through the story, but they only used like 3, I think it was. So very interesting that that was actually even brought up, but never really followed up upon. I'm not sure how to feel about them, outside of I like them, but I don't know how to feel about them because they never continued them. I would love to see more of them. Like I would like to see the entire collection of those logs, just to see the whole timeline of events happening. But I don't know, maybe in the future we're gonna get something out of that. So far, the only interesting, the probably major interesting thing out of those logs was the one and only name that got mentioned for the guy's, what was it, sister again, I think? Yeah, I think it was sister, by the name of Valeria, which is very interesting that they actually named someone in one of those logs. Because that someone is definitely someone from Doc's civilization back then. And maybe it's worth keeping the name Valeria in mind, considering that she apparently worked on the Stargates. So maybe it's good to keep it in mind. Maybe the name is gonna resurface in some kind of document found in the future, some kind of data storage modules and stuff like that. Who knows? But I guess we'll see. All right, but as for the main cast, our operators and other characters that were appearing throughout the story, let's start with the ones that weren't too present. Like I already said a couple of words about Jordi. Jordi was fun to watch through this chapter, trying to find his place in life. Essentially, he's still in that position of, after the events of losing Tiago and everything back then in Stultifera Navis and stuff. He is still trying to find his position in life, which I think he's slowly getting there. And I do love his little antics with Irene. Irene and him have such a nice little thing going on. How they're cooperating with each other, supporting each other, and just having each other's back. Essentially, it's very adorable. It's also very funny. I don't know how to place the relationship when it's looked upon like from the outside, because there is no like you know, the usual like blushing or whatever. They're just colleagues. They're just working together, which is obviously fine. But I don't get that impression from them that they could be a thing in the future. While we obviously always pair them up as a thing, but looking just objectively, it's kind of missing. Maybe it's just too natural between them, so it doesn't kind of hit you in the face that they could be a thing. But overall, I do like their interactions. They're very adorable. Speaking of, Irene still manages to be friends with all the fish. Every fish that sees the little birdie jump around and chirp around them immediately likes the bird. And apparently Irene also likes the fish quite a lot. I do like, and I think I said this already in Stultifera Navis about Irene a bit back then. I believe at least I was talking about something similar. But her entire growth as a character and slowly evolving mindset and how she's viewing the world and everything, all the way from Undertides to here, is very nice to watch. as all the way back then she was kind of already skeptic about some stuff, but was still kind of like stuck and close-minded. But then in Stultifera Navis slowly started to develop as a character, and got to a point where she didn't just blindly pull a weapon and immediately stabbed a Seaborn the moment they were in front of her, but actually could analyze the situation in front, which got shown pretty well in Stultifera Navis as well, but here even better in that whole scene with Tulia, where she is face to face with a Seaborn, but no mention of Irene pulling a weapon on her immediately the moment she spotted her. She actually engaged in dialogue immediately with Tulia before anything else happened. So that is massive character development since then. And on top of that, also being a capable Inquisitor and stuff like that, even though kind of former Inquisitor, but still Inquisitor. Ugh, complicated. Anyway, she's still an Inquisitor if you ask me. But yeah, she had some little moments just to keep her arc as a character going, which is nice. She already had quite a spotlight in the previous story, so her being a bit more in the background in this one is enough. Is enough just to get some development on top of it. All right, our 3 hunters. I mean, it's still the same group. What else to say? I don't really have anything new to say about them outside of getting more knowledge on Gladiia and her background, seeing her mother, which already mentioned. That chick is so full of herself, like holy shit. And just Aegir in general. But yeah, seeing Gladiia and seeing that Gladiia understands the world around her a bit better than her mother, good. Like it. I like that one. Specter still being her old self. Nothing really changed there. Nothing really to add there. She's still being a bit of a crazy Specter. It is, however, nice seeing her in this continuous lucid state and not falling into any kind of deep sleep or slumbering or whatever anymore. At least for the time being. We'll see how that develops. And Skadi is still Skadi. It's still... yeah. Anyway, seeing her, however, interact with the doc was absolutely adorable. And something that I think we all needed, considering how much both in the community she gets paired up with the doc, as she definitely has a fable for the doc. And I'll address something very quickly about that, because this story, I think, might have given us a big hint as to why Skadi is infatuated, or potentially infatuated very heavily with the doc, and in turn the doc with, as we've seen a bit with Skadi, the doc definitely behaves a bit mellow around Skadi with all of those interactions. So I'll get to that. I want to keep that as the last part of the story, or rather outro ramble. But yeah, those interactions were nice and fine and cute, and yeah, that's all I can say for now. Kal'tsit, on the other hand, pretty much continues her arc. If for those of you who have finished episode 14 of the main story and went through this story, well, I don't think I have to explain why Kal'tsit is this way right now in the story and why she's so cooperative with the doc and just genuinely feels like a tiny bit of a different character than before. Is very self-explanatory, but yeah, that's all I can say. She did a lot of diplomatic yappy, and that's why we bring her along. that's why we bring her along. Ulpianus. What do I say about Mr. Jojo? Very... I mean, this story didn't really change my opinion about him as a character too much. He's still the same as he ever was. I did enjoy seeing more about his past and learning the whole shtick with him and the in the Abyssal Hunter project from the past and how that went, how the development of it went, that he was essentially the one behind it. Of course, we obviously knew that already, but seeing a bit more of that, hearing a bit more of that, and the fact that, well, the whole Abyssal Hunter project is pretty much in existence because he did experiments on himself. He was the first tester essentially for the whole thing, and the one who initiated the whole thing after 100+ years of just being the project being on a debate table and nothing else. But yeah, I do wonder how it's gonna continue for him, considering he is following our dear buddy Martus now around, and well, I hope he doesn't turn into an actual Seaborn. Or he maybe could, but he could also transform back, who the hell knows? Who the hell knows what's gonna happen with him? It's up in the clouds. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Alright, so one final thing I want to address here is the whole Skadi Doctor thing, Isharmla thing. As we've learned through, we've already learned through, like I've mentioned multiple times at this point, we've already learned through Karula Arbor, through Mizuki's IS-3 stuff, that the doc was essentially involved in the far-off past with the experiments on the Seaborn. As we've seen, the whole experiment started from doing some kind of genetic work probably on that Faramut that was encased down below. The offsprings of that Faramut pretty much became the Seaborn, and that's pretty much how it started. And it seems to be like another project that was supposed to be similar potentially to what Originium was supposed to do, and that is to kind of save civilization essentially. But we can see how the Seaborn are going. I wonder why all of these experiments went to shit. Is it just because so much time elapsed and that was something that the Doc's race didn't account for some reason? Or is there more to it? Because all of these projects going to shit, even Originium going to shit, is interesting, and I do wonder why. I do wonder why they all died out. But again, Skadi carrying essentially now the will of Isharmla inside of her, and essentially from what was described, seems to be like the carrier of his will, and potentially maybe the whatever key to the future, together with the Doc. The Doc being obviously the person who was in charge of Karula Arbor and the experiments back on Isharmla, which also means that obviously Isharmla is, as stated, pre-programmed to be drawn to the Doctor, as the Doctor is essentially its creator, in a sense. So where does that put us? Well, Skadi was always for some reason very infatuated with the Doc. That whole thing gets absolutely blown out of proportions when you look at Skadi Alter, which is her awakened to Isharmla's blood, or Isharmla awakened, and potentially fully fused with Skadi, making the two of them into a single being. And we know from her voice lines, especially in the new skin that was added as well with those voice lines, how nutty she is in that form, and obsessed with the Doc. From IS-3 in the alternative endings, we also know how catastrophic that whole thing can be. That is a terrifying concept that gets described in IS-3's ending 2. Apocalypse is the appropriate word. But yeah, we learned through the story one thing. Isharmla is programmed essentially biologically to be drawn to the Doc, and the Doc was obviously drawn to the life form that they helped foster and genetically alter, from what it seems. And Is that why she's just drawn naturally to the dock? Is that how it began? Is that the initial spark? Is that why she is so infatuated with the dock themselves? Because all of their interactions are kind of interesting if you put it into that perspective, aren't they? Basically, her initial fancy of the dog being from pretty much Isharmla's blood calling out to the dog subconsciously. The dog being also drawn back to her because there is probably some kind of residual memory that is subconsciously pushing the dog back to one of their experiments. So you know, oof, that puts it into a perspective, but an interesting perspective as well. And I want to point another thing out. In the final cutscene where we see Martus having that dream, where the dream is not Martus's own dream, but Isharmla's memory as described by him, we do see a person in front of the glass speaking to the Faramut on the other side, proclaiming that they will be always there together with them. And I think that's the doc. I personally think that person on the glass is the doc. In some kind of probably futuristic gear, as it seems. But if it is, it's very interesting, because that is the first time where they've shown a silhouette of the dog without a hood on. You just see normal, I mean, it's normal hair, it's just a silhouette, it's a black silhouette, completely black silhouette with the blue light shining through on whatever the gear is on them. But if that's the dog, that was very out of nowhere and absolutely fascinating. Could be someone else. But as described throughout the story so far, especially in this story, the dog was very attached to the project, as Martus was describing through all the files that he had access to in Karula Arbor, which does put it into perspective of that could have 100% been the dog in that memory scene that we've seen. And it's very fascinating that they actually gave us a glimpse at the dog without the hood on, even though it was just a black silhouette. Still absolutely poetic to see that. And surprising. Appreciate that. Really, really, really appreciate that. But yeah, the story is for now over, and I don't know where it's gonna be heading from here. We're definitely gonna get a sequel to this. As I said earlier, there's definitely gonna be a lot of overlapping going on. How much overlapping with other stories, I couldn't tell. There's still that whole thing that was left over from Hortus de Escapismo, the second of the Laterano stories, where that guy from the Church of the Deep and that one woman that was transforming into a Seaborn kind of vanished from the story and never reappeared again. And I was expecting them actually to somehow show up here, quite honestly. But nothing happened yet, so I don't know when and how they are gonna be showing up. But that is a leftover, and a potential crossover between this and maybe Laterano stories. I mean, we've seen potential crossovers through what was mentioned at the end, like with Kierak, with Rhinelab, with Siracusa. Okay, that was gonna be interesting. But we'll see, I guess. We'll see. The Abyssal Hunter story is not done yet. The Aegir story is not done yet. And like I said, a lot of these stories just feel like they are all now overlapping and will probably at some point congeal into a single story. And it's gonna be something. It's gonna be something, and oh boy, I can already foresee how many people, especially new people who come to the game, are gonna be driven up a wall, because, you know, you will need to know a lot of stuff before that story comes around. But yeah, anyway, all I can say to that is take your time, just read, listen to the stuff on my channel, and enjoy the stories, because they're all good. overall, I have nothing bad to say about the story. It had a shit ton of surprises, positive surprises, and kind of very shockingly world-building surprises and past and all of that stuff. And I'm looking forward to see the next thing. The next thing, however, I think the next thing for the... which is gonna be our anniversary story for Global, is gonna be, I think the Pepe story is coming next, which is gonna be very interesting, because that will be... I presume that will have to do essentially from the little tease that they give in the what's it called? The algorithm stuff in Sans. They give a little tease to Pepe and her journey and what she's doing, because she does appear in that, by the way. You can already see her in game in a little sprite. But yeah, you can. I'm expecting from that story that it's gonna... I mean, it's obviously gonna have to do with the Shahs and stuff like that, and the past and what happened there. But I'm looking forward to that story, obviously. But until then, we probably have a whole month, and I will enjoy my whole month of not having to do any voiceovers for this, and I can focus on other stuff and finally do that, and yeah, can finally catch up on a lot of things. It's been 2 months at this point of constant voiceovers, and I'm looking forward to a small little month-long break. Really looking forward to it. These videos do take a lot of energy, and it's been 2 months of non-stop stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna take a small break until then. I'm gonna be churning out smaller stuff to the channel, and so on and so forth, and some live streams and stuff like that. That is quick and easy and enjoyable. And yeah, there's also, obviously this will not make sense for anybody in the future, but there's also the beta for Endfield that is upcoming in the next month. I have obviously applied to all of that stuff, and I'm just like everybody else, just waiting to see anything. to hopefully be in the beta this time, because I do want to play it. But yeah, that's gonna be for next month. For now, I will take my rest. I will go and edit this together, and I will present this to you guys probably in the last minutes before the event vanishes. But yeah, anyway, thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed. There's gonna be a clip section after this, as always, just a couple of short ones. And yeah, thank you very much. If you enjoyed this, please leave a like. It would help me out a lot. Leave a comment as well, of course, if you have something to say about the story. And if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. There's a lot more on the channel. Pretty much everything out of the Arknights stories is on the channel, done in this way. And yeah, if you want to support me even more directly, there are memberships that you can join. No video will be behind a membership, as always. And yeah, thank you for all the members that are already there and doing their thingy. Much appreciated, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And yeah, hope you have a fantastic day wherever you are. Christmas is around the corner. Enjoy the holidays. And I will probably join you with some live streams over the holidays. Both Christmas and New Year's. But that's for the week after this. For now, have a good one, everybody. I'll see you in the next thing. Bye-bye. Ooh. An immature life form, fleshly hatched. An immature life form, freshly hatched, flits across Ulpianus' vision. It flips over gracefully, revealing minute yet precise mechanical structures in its belly for just a moment. Oh, did they... Actually, wait. Oh, is it the nanomachines? Yo! Then there are 2, then 3. The school of newborns link together into a fine path of light, illuminating the chaotic waves. Adult Seaborn of all shapes crowd around them tightly, directing the currents and protecting them as they swim into the distance. Or did they... okay. What are you escorting, Seaborn? What is it you're protecting? Nutrients. Life. Kin. And you, Ulpianus. We many, together as one. As a former consul of the Academy of Technology, one of the top of his field, Ulpianus is certain he is not mistaken. The steady flow of wondrous things streaming out of the beacon tower are nanomachines once ensconced in there, a history cut off, a dream that died young. As an abyssal hunter, he trusts his senses of smell as much as he does his scientific intuition. Their scent is no different from the Seaborn. Those beacons, dead in the cradle nearly 200 years ago, now thrum with new life. Incubated by the Seaborn, they now swim together towards the tidal confluence on the surface. Have you not yet given up on these games, Aegir, despite your own noose around your neck? Or is this also a part of your plan? At first, there was only a mote of fluorescence, then a flowing line, and after that, an elegant lattice spreading out across the surface of the sea. Ooh. Oh, wow. Ooh. Ooh. Wow. Dope. Oh, shit. Billions of nanomachines sway alongside the children of the sea, bobbing up and down on the ocean waves. Their shimmer is minute yet clear, indistinct yet unwavering. The passage of light reflects about among the seaborn bodies. The currents connect every nest scattered across the seas. Seaborn gather together from every corner of the ocean for their excursion onto land, gracefully extending the paths of light. They intertwine with one another. The golden net they weave is like a galaxy strewn across the sea's surface, from Miliarium down into the deepest depths of the ocean. The Waterway, the network of the ocean, one connecting land and sea, one transcending chaotic space and placid time, bound together with we many. Oh shit.
Honest. There is someone who wishes to see you all.
Oh? The little handy move. What is this sound effect? The little handy moves to the center. Jesus Christ, this is loud. This is loud, I'm trying to read. The little handy moves to the center of the Pensivarium, its projection module emitting cold motes of light, slowly coalescing into the figure of an Aegir woman. Oh! Oh! Wait. I think I know who that is. I think I know who that is. That's why she wanted Gladiia here, isn't it? She sports a smile under her golden hair. golden hair. Her eyes are focused on everyone in the room, as though she has been waiting for, or perhaps observing them for a long time. Okay. Oh shit! Hi, Horatia. Oh yep. Hi, Mom. How's it going?
Pheromones perceive the oncoming crisis far more keenly than humanity. That young one will not shelter Kierak forever.
Ooh. Oh, young one. Wow. So she's among the young Pheromones. I mean, that kind of explains her a bit dorky personality. Okay.
We can aid that nation long trapped in snow and breaking through its developmental barriers in a few short years, so that it may stand equal with its neighbors. We can...
Wow, it just hit me. They know a lot about land. They are up to date. Ooh.
We can aid in the...
Oh yeah.
We can aid the Sami in purging the demonic corruption permeating in every inch of snow, and restart the abandoned Stargate in the north.
Okay, IS-4 has already told us through pretty much a lot of the stories that work in the near future on the gate will begin. I can't remember if the Aegir were mentioned anywhere in any of the endings. Like textual endings, that is. Or the monthly... Yeah, no, I don't maybe I just forgot. There was like a freak ton of countries mentioned and organizations that were repairing, and I can't remember from the top of my head right now if Aegir was mentioned. Maybe it was. Maybe I'm just forgetting. But yeah, also aid in purging the demonic corruption permeating in every inch. So they... I wonder if she means like literally also cleansing the topography of the corruption of the collapsals. Because if so, that is huge. You guys are really far ahead with tech. And that is not even a surprise if they are literally learning from the relics of the Doctor civilization, essentially. They are... It kind of was striking me for a while, but they are kind of like a category 1 essentially, category 1 race essentially. If not for the fact that they are confined to the sea, they seem like they could literally be like a category 1 or very close to a category 1 civilization according to the Kardashev scale, which is insane, which is already insane.
Do you really mean to return? I finally found out that man's whereabouts. No matter who he is or what...
Wulpahole?
No matter who he is or what Wulpahole he has decided to hide himself in, he hurt our daughter. He needs to pay.
Then let me come with you. I don't care if it's Familia.
Syracusa? Oh. Why are we here all of a sudden?
Then let me come with you. I don't care if it's Familia standing in our way, cruel catastrophes, endless tides, or fire raining from the skies. We'll face them together.
Would the shrine be alright without you?
Shrine? Oh.
Would the shrine...
Okay.
Relax. Relax, it's just killing a few people. It long past time for those bastards to head to the hell.
To head to hell?
Then it seems we must part once more.
Heavens drink their fill, sky besought by Sakura, drunken clouds stumble.
Was that a haiku?
What is this? What is happening here?
Was that a haiku? It's got a good rhythm, perfectly suited for reciting while swinging a sword.
What are these two? What? Oh my god, they're watching a movie. Oh my god, they're watching a movie. Oh my god, I got bamboozled, they're watching a movie. Hey! Which bastard touched the switch? We under attack? No, look at the screen. Hmm? Oh. Oh, hi. Oh, I think I see what's happening. Are they doing like a global broadcast something? Ooh. Also, hi there, Nasty. Oh! Tin Man, hi! Yes!
The guy who's supposed to be making a speech for us isn't here yet either. Well, he's still got 2 minutes.
Oh. Oh my! They let the bitch out! They let the bitch out! God damn it, Ferdinand. Holy mother of fuck. Ooh, is this Horatia?
The challenges we face are far greater than ourselves or catastrophes. We must form a community under the leadership of Aegir to overcome them together.
Wow, they are really full of themselves. Like, really full of themselves. Do the Seaborn dream? Dreams are comprised of thoughts or emotions, flaring up as they dissipate. But now I am nothing more than instinct. Why this scene again? Following the unfathomable passage in the ruins, at the very end a great beast gently sticks a tentacle to the bulkhead. What is it waiting for? Perhaps. I walk forward, passing through the shadow of the Carulean tree, until I am before him. I extend a hand. Ooh. An electronic announcement in an unknown language.
Warning. Deep sleep procedures will commence in 3 minutes. Real-time translation progress will soon shut down. Please provide all necessary instructions as soon as possible.
I will watch over you until the end of my days. Esharmla, our shared name, our shared decision. We trust one another. We feel as one, do we not? I will watch over you until the end of my days. No, this person isn't me. This isn't my dream. It's... Oh, it's just... Ooh. Is that the dog without a hood? Oh. Oh, shit. I mean, it's just a blackened silhouette, but... Oh... Oh, shit. Oof. This isn't my dream. It's Shamla's memories? Ulpianus follows along. Oh, you bitches, this is how it ends? Oh, that's a cliffhanger. Okay. Uh-huh. Well, this was a segment. Woo!